Hey, this is Kirk.
And this is Byrd. It's the Kirk and Byrd Show. And I'm loving the responses we're getting on our weekly pick segment. And it has really picked up now that it's playoff time. And we're blessed to have back with us Jason Sterling, Mr. Stonebridge, Dinwiddie himself, and Jay Gholson, who's all about that Route 1 life. He went to Potomac High School, and he's the voice of freedom football and basketball. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. So we want to keep this rolling because, look, people were getting on our case, Kirk, about when is
complaining. Where is it?
Out. Like, oh wow, like I'm loving it. So we want to get this done, get it out, and hopefully you guys respond by not just viewing it but sharing it with friends and family. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Kirk, why don't you tell people where they can find us, and then you can go ahead and start the show with our review.
Yep. So our big thing that we're looking to do is get subscribers on YouTube, and we want followers on Twitter. We're very active on Twitter. We put clips up there that you're not going to see on here. So, and then if you just Google us, the Kirk and Byrd, that's our number one search term, Rusty, is the Kirk and Byrd. You'll find we're on all kinds of platforms that you can listen to in your car or whatever, but everybody knows YouTube is there. And then, like I said, leave more comments. We've got great fact checkers out there. So I like that. But having said that, we're really into a great part of the season. We had some great games last week.
Oh, they be calling Kirk on his stuff, y'all. They be calling. They'll say something like, "Hey, that's this or that." I love that.
I said Liberty Christian was 4 and they're 3, and all the time. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to review the games that we highlighted last week. We previewed, and then we'll just run through the scores of the other games, and then we picked some games that we thought were the best games to look at for this upcoming state quarterfinals. So, guys, Kettle Run, Brentsville won 28-7. And Jason Sterling and I picked Kettle Run. And I just want to say that we did not know Colton Quaker was out. So I know that's an excuse, guys, but if I would have known Colton Quaker was out, I would have picked Brentsville. So
you know what I know? Prince William County dominated.
That's right. And Coach White, every time I pick against y'all, you win. So you want me to pick you this weekend against Armstrong Kennedy in Richmond. So another big one was King George and Dinwiddie. King George won that game. Rusty Byrd picked King George. Myself, Jason Sterling, and Jay Gholson, we all picked Dinwiddie. Big game there, guys. And Dinwiddie is a team, or King George is a team that is going to be reckoned with in 4. Next one is Warwick, Kings Fork, and Mr. Jay Gholson picked Kings Fork. And I'm looking, guys, we all picked this to be close. It was 42-13 Warwick. And Rusty, you picked 2013. So you got Kings Fork right, but this was a blowout. Pretty surprising. And we're going to have, for you folks out there, we're going to have some good commentary. Warwick and Maury is the game we're going to preview.
I do want to talk about this particular game because Kings Fork was undefeated, okay? And Warwick, not that we underestimated them, but I don't think people really appreciated just how really good Warwick has been. Again, Phoebus only scored 10 points on them, and they I'm not saying, I don't know, we'll talk about them against Maury, but Warwick is having a special season. They moved up from 4 to 5, and they did not have a drop off.
Well, I'll add this. I've been making phone calls, and I've heard more people talk that way very highly of Warwick. And they think that Warwick can beat Maury. We'll get into that. I don't know if they will, but I'm shocked at the amount of respect that Warwick has, and very much looking forward to that game. So the next game, we're going to talk about this. Battlefield beat Mountain View. We know we have a lot of people listening, Prince William County and Battlefield. let's get a recap of this one, guys. I mean, thoughts on this? I was surprised on this one. We all picked Battlefield though, and they came through. Jay Gholson, what's your?
How are you surprised if four great pickers picked Battlefield? Just why would you be surprised?
And they were close too, man. 2-point margin, 4-point margin. Oh, Gholson had to win by 14 and 4-point margin. So we look like, Nostradamus there. But Jay, what's your take on that?
Big time players make big time plays in big time games. Brandon Mikowski had 11 catches for 177 yards.
Wow.
Okay? So, I mean, that's what I say. He's a baller, his brother Cam had 2 sacks that were a very important part of the game. The Battlefield crew came out there and support. Mountain View, like I said, last year, the year before, they always second round or third round, boom, they're gone. So not a surprise. Big game this weekend. Talk about later on, Battlefield and Freedom.
Yeah. Were any of us at that game, guys? I know Jason and I weren't. Rusty, you were at Braddock.
But I was at Braddock, but I had my laptop up and I was watching that game the most.
Yeah. How did Purple Rain travel? How did Battlefield travel?
Ooh, real good.
Okay, I figured. All right. Okay.
Real good.
All right,
Jay,
Battlefield.
you know what? Jay's right about Mountain View. They've got to figure out a way to get over the hump, though. We've talked about it the last couple of weeks.
Yep.
They have great regular seasons. They be a first round of playoffs, typically okay, and then bam, it crashes down on them. So they've got to figure out that next step, and that's what they're making.
I would not have been surprised if Mountain View won, because if you look at their schedule, they beat some good teams this year. They beat Colonial Forge. They beat Forest Park twice. Forest Park made the playoffs. They beat some, and then Battlefield on the other side really didn't play anybody until they played Gainesville and Patriot, and they played Patriot twice. But outside of that, so we really didn't know. But
hey, again, big time players make big time plays in big time games.
So we'll hear how big they are for this upcoming game.
Yeah,
I want to hear you. I want to hear you talk about big time players, because both teams have a bunch. Okay, let's keep it.
Hey, market, we need y'all to subscribe. All right, next one. One of the best games in the state, and Manchester defeated Thomas Dale. Rusty and I, united front. We both had Manchester, and Jay and Jason had Thomas Dale winning by a 1-point margin. I think Manchester made a statement here. Great game coming up this weekend. Moving on to the next, Rusty Byrd, you were at Lake Braddock, West Springfield. Lake Braddock won 38-21. Jason and I both picked West Springfield with a white shadow, and we both got that wrong. Rusty, give us a little debrief since you were there.
Man, I'm gonna tell y'all, them Lake Braddock fans. Jason, the girl, maybe she doesn't look as good now. I don't know, man. I don't know what happened to her. But well, first of all, she messed up by dumping you.
She did, man.
Yeah, but let me tell you, she might have been at the game, because it was a lot of people there. But that environment. So I first started out the game just sitting in the stands on the Lake Braddock side. And I'm watching the other games and doing stuff, but the Lake, I'm there. I haven't been to a game since maybe not last year, but 2 years ago at Stonebridge. Their fans really get into it. I think it's the first time I met you, Jason. But it was a lot of fun in that environment. So I started, in the first 3 quarters I was in the stands. The fourth quarter I was on the field sideline of Lake Braddock, and man, just their sideline had an energy about it. I'm serious, man. Like they had a lot of people on the sideline. Not just they had athletes. But this is one thing I love. They allowed like former players to be on the sideline. You know how like when you see like a college program, and some don't let back the Hokies, and then some do. But they had former players. They had so many people on the sideline, and I'm telling, bro, you could feel it. And I've been on a lot of sidelines. I could feel the energy, and the game wasn't. I mean, Lake Braddock pretty much always had a lead, but it was close for a while. Yeah. And but their talent. Let me just say, Lake Braddock has figured some things out. and they've gotten better as the year goes on. And I even mentioned to Coach Doherty, like in some of the players, like, you said you guys were young this year.
Yeah, you said they're rebuilding.
Rebuilding, right. But they've grown. I don't want to keep talking too much about this, but I got to tell you, Lake Braddock, y'all fans, y'all brought it.
Yeah. If we could be in multiple games, I tell you, Lake Braddock at Madison is two of the top 3 or 4 fan bases in Northern Virginia. I would love to be.
So we can go to multiple games because some teams are playing Friday and some teams are playing Saturday. So I'm just bringing that up. Yeah, right. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Final game. Jay Gholson, the voice of the Freedom Eagles. Freedom beat Forge 46-16. Jay, we had a group text. He said an Ohio State coach came up to the press box and said, "Can I get a roster for Freedom?" So, Jay, give us a debrief on that game with the Freedom Eagles.
I saw Bill Brown, Clone Forge's defensive coordinator, before the game. He said to me, he said, "Jay, if we tackle Jeff Overton, we have a chance. If we don't tackle Jeff Overton, it's going to be a long night." It was a long night. Now, Clone Forge is good now. It was a close game in the second quarter. Third quarter, they came out with a whole new offense, try to trick Freedom. It worked for a little bit. Freedom adjusted to the new offense that Clone Forge tried to run. It's one guy for Clone Forge, Ethan Horn. Man, I think he scored like 3 touchdowns against Freedom on Friday. And last year, Whitbridge did the same thing. This guy is one kid that Freedom has had a problem with. But Freedom's Freedom. You have too many weapons, and it showed, as the game went on, and it was a great game. But like Brown said, if you don't tackle Jeff Overton, it's going to be a long game.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay. Now, before we go to this week, this is what I mapped out on games. So out here, the Stonebridge Briar Woods game is at the same time as the Tuscarora Champe game, and I'm leaning towards Tuscarora. That's the one. Now up here, you guys can help me out. Brentsville was the only game that I saw on Friday night, so I'm going to go down to Brentsville, and then on Saturday I'm going to go to Freedom, so Battlefield.
I'm sorry, Brentsville is at night.
Yep, Friday night.
Oh, okay, yeah, because there are a lot of 1:00 games on. Or
there's no Friday night games, so I want to do that game. And then Freedom, there's no Saturday night games that I know of. So I'll see y'all, Jay, I'll see you. But those are the ones that I mapped out. I think there's one game in the state, maybe 2 on Saturday night. So, yeah.
Not many.
All right. So,
go ahead.
Before I go,
I just want to make sure you
results.
The records
for
this week.
Okay.
Just thought that needed to be.
The records for this week. So we had okay. Oh, no wonder. Oh, yeah, I thought about this. Rusty Byrd got everything right. 7-0.
Put in the playoff.
And the rest of us were sucking wind. I was 4-3. Jay was 4-3. Jason Sterling is usually way active, was 3-4.
Wow.
And then I guess what we had that week were me, Matt, and Jason. So, I mean, and these are not easy games. There was a lot of upsets. And then overall, the other games, Jason and Jay were 20-5, which is pretty darn good. And that's an 80%. Am I right there? About 80%. And then Rusty Byrd was 19-6, and I was 18-7. All right. Ooh. So overall, Jay Gholson is leading. Mr. Gholson, Remax agent, gotta do your real estate through Jay. Looks like I am second, but the way I'm going, that's going to change. Jason Sterling's third, Rusty Byrd at 145. So, and in the playoffs, Rusty and Jay are both 76-16. Guys, that's really good. I mean, that is really good. And then Jason Sterling is 75-17, and then I was struggling with last week. I'm 71-21. So, all right. So moving on, our segment was too long last week because I was so tired. I talked about a bunch of games that were just supposed to make a prediction. So, and our fans were like, "Where's the episode? Where's the episode?" So this episode is going to come out. It won't be Friday afternoon. All right. So These are, much better games.
I think the reason Kirk talked to me is because he knew this was going to be his record and made it hard for us to get it out.
I've never been accused of talking too much. So remember when we used to have the report cards, those old paper report cards, and they had, talking too much was
too talkative
every single time. So
oh yeah.
Me talk too much. All right. So we're going to preview 7 games this week. And then we're just going to go over the scores. I will not meander into an analysis. We're going to start with a game we've all been talking about. I was on the phone, burning the phone up, and that's John Champe at Tuscarora. That game is going to be at Tuscarora. Tuscarora is undefeated, and John Champe has 1 loss to Briarwoods. And Jason, I've seen both teams play. I know you saw Tusky scrimmage. What is your take on this game coming up? This may be an old school sellout where every seat is taken.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kirk. I mean, I know you're super high on Champ, and there's good reason for that. They're really starting to develop a reputation of developing good quarterbacks. Patrick Bryan, the last couple of years before that, they had this kid, Tyler Savage. He was more of a universal athlete, converted to tight end over at ECU, I think, but they've had great quarterbacks. They've got another one, a kid by the name of Dominic Plush. He's only a sophomore, and I think he appears to be the next great quarterback to come out of that program. So he helped lead the team to 10-1 record to this point. He gets a ton of help on defense. They've got a defensive back. This kid's a ball hawk. His name is Isaiah Lewis Hudson. And I think he's got 8 picks on the season, something like that, which is crazy. So
free safety,
yeah. Tusky's going to be formidable though for Champ. They're very fundamentally sound. They don't wow you to death, but when you look up at the end of the game, they find a way to have more points on the board than their opponents, and that's what this game's all about, right? How do you get more points than your opponent? So, I would say offensive edge goes to Champ, defensive edge goes to Tusky. Home field leans Tusky. I'm taking Tusky in a tight one, 20-16. So
20-16 Tuscarora.
Yeah, good game though.
Okay. All right. I'll give a little blurb. I was able to talk to coaches and some parents. So this is a great game. I would say that one of the key things is Champ runs a hurry up offense, and that's tough for a high school team to adapt to. But the more you score and hurry up, the more the other team's going to get the ball. So tempo is going to be big in this one. Champ does not have like a primary go-to runner. So they've got more like running back by committee. They've got a commit with Greg Spiller, who's going to be going to Delaware. And he's a kid that's just started playing football. Coach Dawson over at Briarwood said he knew he was going to be a college football player when he started. And then I know that Champ's back end is exceptional. Josh Jones, really good athlete, another kid that waited to play football. His best football is ahead of him. I'm anxious to see what he's going to do in the next level. Sean Springs Jr., the second, I believe, is an incredible corner. Isaiah Hudson Lewis. So their back end is very strong.
Is that Sean Springs, Ron Springs' grandson?
Okay. No, it's his. Oh, come on, man. Don't do that to him.
No.
That's his son. That's his son.
Listen, hold on. Ron Springs is the dad.
Yeah.
Sean Springs is the son. Is the other Sean the grandson of Ron?
Oh, I thought you said Sean. Yeah. My bad. Yeah. I'm sorry, Sean and Ron. Yeah.
Ron exactly. Went to Lafayette.
Yep. Yeah, and then I know for the Cowboys. Sean Springs has had sons play at Briarwoods also. So, yeah, and so yeah, and on the Champ side, they're bigger than Champ. Good push. I'm really high on Dawson Pugh. I think he's a dynamic player. He was just named Player of the Year, and I think if we're sitting here next week and Tuscarora wins, it's going to probably be because Dawson Pugh's had a big game. They've got good skilled position players. I've always liked Tommy Petey. Shifty, can run, misdirection. And then, Eli Chappell. I would just say this, over pursuit could be big in this game, but I just feel like this is going to be razor sharp. I can almost do a coin flip. I think that Champ has had a tougher schedule, and I believe they're going to be ready. I like Champ in a very close game, 21-17. Mr. Gholson.
I'll be quick on this one. Going the home team, Tuscarora, 14-8.
You like Tusky 14-8? Okay.
Yeah.
So I, based on the kind of the research I've done and talking to people, even talking to you, Kirk, you've seen, I know you've seen a lot of the Loudoun County teams.
Yep.
I think Tuscarora, although they will be home, I don't think they'll be able to pull this one out. So I'm still impressed with Champ, because their only loss was to Briarwood, who is still alive and a very good, well-coached team. So I've got Champ winning this one 35-24.
I like the way you're thinking. And we want to encourage everybody at Champ and Tusky to make sure that they subscribe to us. We've had probably about 5 or 6 episodes with Tuscarora. Next game is another.
I got a question. Is Fletcher? We talked to Fletcher Westfield before the season. We've had him on the show a couple of times. Did they ever give him the rock? Did he ever run the ball this year? Do you know?
I don't know, but they threw to him. They did a reverse on a 2-point conversion, and he was open.
Yeah, I think he's reported as eligible a few times.
Yeah.
Lineman eligible. I don't think he's scary. Maybe he has. I'd have to look. I haven't seen all their games, obviously, but
did Louisville do that this weekend? It was I think Louisville did that to Miami. Somebody did it in college. I can't remember. But I love that's actually a good play. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So the next game is 2 programs that we've had both our coaches on this show. Briarwoods at Stonebridge. This is a big rematch from 2 weeks ago. And this is going to be at Stonebridge. And Jason, just want to get your take on this game.
So when they played right for Halloween, I think we saw a fairly dominant performance from Stonebridge in that game. But it wasn't a game where you could just write Briarwoods off and say they've got no chance in a rematch, right?
Right.
I think they've got enough offensive skilled players, Capistrant, Dudley, Brady Carmichael throwing the ball, to really make things difficult on a team like Stonebridge. They mix things up a lot. They sort of dink and dunk you to death at 5 to 7 yards a pop, and that can get very frustrating for a defense. I think they did a good job also in the first game of converting on 3rd down. So Stonebridge will need to find a way to get off the field and let their offense cook a little more, get a little more time of possession. I think time of possession will be critical in the outcome of this game. But let me say this, Stonebridge has won 15. I'll say it again because I know Jay at his old age is hard of hearing. 15 regional championships under Coach Thompson. Mm-hmm. There's not a single team in the state that knows how to play football on the day after Thanksgiving than those guys on the road. Not a single team in the state. That routine is second to none to them. Stonebridge has got some flaws, though, guys. They need to fix them. I think Briar keeps this game close. Give me Stonebridge in a game a lot closer than what people might think I might pick. I've got Stonebridge 22, Briarwoods 14.
Okay, 22-14. Yeah, this is one where I was able to talk to quite a few people, parents, coaches, and I saw the first game, and I've obviously seen both teams play quite a bit. Stonebridge played a little sloppy on Friday against Massaponax, but that triple option stretched them out in space. That could be a problem. One of the big reasons Stonebridge can over pursue. So take some notes, Stonebridge. I would say that over pursuit, being disciplined, is going to be big. From the first matchup, Briarwood was not intimidated. They played physical football. They weren't able, those weapons that you talked about, Jason, they weren't able to turn them loose. I don't think Briar had played a team that physical. And, Stonebridge is big, and they're big for every team in the state. They're not as big as Freedom, but they are big. I think some counters, some misdirections. Trey Dudley is a big back, period, but he's a big high school back. I'm impressed. They weren't able to turn him loose against Stonebridge the first time. He was bottled up. If they can find a way to get around the edge, I think that Briarwoods, can be in this game. I can't go against Coach Thompson at this point with what he's done, his track record. I like Stonebridge.
Coach Thompson has how many state championships? 3?
3 state championships.
But Briarwood's coach has 2?
They had 3. They won 3 out of 4.
No, I'm talking about the current coach. I'm saying the current coach.
Burnett has 2. And did he win one at Tusky? That's a good point, Rusty.
Yeah, I'd have to.
He was in the final, but they didn't win it.
Yeah.
Okay. So my point is, we got 2 great coaches.
I'm glad
Yeah, it's a great point.
No, it's a good one. I talked to Mike Burnett. I talked to him on Friday. So, I like this one. I think this. I just like Stonebridge. With the experience and everything. Briarwoods could pull an upset, but I'm going to take. I'm going to take Stonebridge 31-17. Jay Gholson.
You never bet against Mickey Thompson on Thanksgiving. So I'm going to say Stonebridge 35, Briarwoods 7.
Woo! Okay.
All right. So this one was a little tougher for me, because this is one of those games where I should be saying a preference line, like either team could win and I would not be surprised, right? I think the game will be closer. I've got Stonebridge winning 28-24, and this is where all those early season games may help them. They working on anything that's been exposed or shown and being able to cover and work that up. So I think they'll win, but with those and still we're dealing with young men. They can't go in there and think, oh, we beat them. Let's start. They cannot think ahead, and I don't think Mickey will let them. But I have Stonebridge winning, but Briarwoods, they're a quality team.
So that'll be a big battle in Ashburn. Big game that's going to be down in Norfolk. Warwick is traveling over from the peninsula to play Maury. Rusty, you've got all those ties to Maury with your brother, and your 2 nieces have gone there, and Blake is going to go there. What's your take on this big matchup in Norfolk?
Maury has so much talent, just a tremendous amount of talent. They could be as talented as anybody. They could be as or more talented than Freedom, Highland Springs. Like, they've got crazy. Like, I know when my nephew was working out with them in the summer, lifting weights, he'd send me videos. Like, I'd be like, that's a grown man lifting those weights. And he's like, no, he's in the 10th grade. And so they have a lot of talent. And they've beaten, they're undefeated, and they beat quality teams. They beat Wise up here in PG, and Wise just advanced in the Maryland playoffs.
Yep.
I have Maury winning this game 30-21. But this is the thing. The biggest factor for me is this isn't a game where most people will be surprised if Warwick won. But that Warwick defense is unlike anything Maury has seen. The most points they gave up was this past week to undefeated Kings Fork, right? I think they're averaging, now, Mr. Sterling, it might be up to 4 points a game. I don't know, against that defense. This is a true battle of offense and defense. I think Maury gets the win just because of a little bit of an edge in some of their athletes.
Okay. Did you pick a score? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I have Maury. This will be the most points scored against Warwick, 30-21 Maury. But hey, Frat, y'all can do this. Prove me wrong.
I'll just say this, Rusty. I can't believe the number of people I talk to, including head coaches and assistant coaches in the 757, that said Warwick can win this game. All right. None of them said Maury's going to beat them. I think this Warwick team is better than most people think. And I think that by the way, we didn't talk about that win they had over Kings Fork was very impressive. I think we did debrief that, but that was an impressive margin of victory. I like Maury 27-7. Jason Sterling.
So if you polled 100 head coaches throughout the state right now, and you were to ask them which team they would least like to play with their season on the line, I think Maury gets the most votes, even over Freedom.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You cannot overstate how good these guys are. Ari Watford, Devontae Floyd, Fred Johnson, Leon Clark, Jaden Ratliff, Joshua Powell. I mean, stop me when you've heard enough of names that are going to play at Power 5 schools. Talent-wise, there are absolutely no gaps in that roster. But look, on the other side here, guys, you've got a war team that also has a list of athletes that stack up with the best of them. Their quarterback, Eduardo Rios, we don't talk a lot about him. He's very underrated.
Very, very good.
Probably doesn't get the quarterback publicity that guy deserves. Defensively, we know they don't give up much. It's that simple. They've set this game. I just checked it, guys. This is a Saturday night primetime game. So this is one of the only games on Saturday night at 7 o'clock. So listen, Kirk, you talked to a bunch of coaches and they said Warwick could win. I'm going to go against the grain. You heard it here first. Warwick shocks the 757, pulls off the seemingly impossible. They take out the Commodores on Saturday night, 27-21. Warwick wins this game.
You're the man, Jason. I wanted to do that.
Jason, that takes some kahunas.
No, it does, but that's why I wanted to go. But I have a way of cursing the people I really want to win.
I know. Reed McCain's probably going to be in my driveway in like 3 hours. So,
Jay Gholson.
Jason, first wrestling people will hate you. Now the Maury folks are going to hate you.
I won't have a show to go to after this, man.
You and Rags will do a show.
Maury has beaten Highland Springs, right?
Yep.
Did Maury beat Highland Springs?
Yep.
They did.
Okay, that's what I thought. I'm gonna say Maury 28-21. Maury.
So that was one of the things I was thinking, and I know I gave my. I want to say this: Maury beat Wise, who probably could win the Maryland State Championship. They beat Highland Springs, and they beat Dinwiddie, and they crushed Lake Taylor. But you know what? All those games were like a long time ago. So and they have been blowing everybody out. Nobody has scored on them until this past weekend in like 7 weeks. This is the thing. How do those Maury kids react when they're not scoring a lot of points because that Warwick defense is so good? That's what you want to see is when they're being stressed, how do they react? But Warwick, Maury, and they beat Phoebus in the scrimmage. Like they're beating good teams. Now Phoebus could say we didn't play everybody, whatever. But Maury's great.
Yep. Well, all right, Jason. A lot of people are going to hear. We'll take a clip of that. If you're right, that's a big one. So we're going to move up here. Fairfax County game. This is what we call the Western Fairfax County region of Class 6, and that's Westfield, a very underrated team. If you look at their 3 losses, look who they lost to. This is a good football team, and they're going to be at James Madison, which has become perennial power up here. Jason, what's your we're getting you to preview this because you've seen Westfield play and I've seen Madison play.
Westfield's one of these teams that's getting better as the season's chugged along. I think they're probably sort of on track for one of the more improved seasonal from start to finish teams that we've seen out there. Their 3 losses, guys, they were in those games with the chance to win. I think combined, it's 10 points in those 3 losses. So they were right there. Quarterback Matthew Jinks. They got skill guys, Kennedy Duda, Connor Morin, who obviously you guys know that name, his brother, Taylor Morin. That kid will likely wind up in the top 10 in Wake Forest. That's a bunch of categories for receiving. So he comes from a good football family. Kyle Simmons, who took over the reins in 2011 for that program, has these guys in really good shape. Now, Madison, they find themselves in a very familiar position here. Again, it was a close game during the regular season, 4-point win for Madison. I got Madison winning it again, this time a little bigger margin. I just think their playoff experience recently and that loss that they had at the end of the regular season's motivated them. They'll be a little too much here for Westfield. Give me Madison 31, Westfield 13.
Okay. Jay Gholson, Vienna might be the McMansion capital of Northern Virginia. So
I live right there in Westfield. I live right near Westfield. And they're actually a 6 seed, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But let me say this. I know about 4 Westfield dads I talked to about this game. And I just feel with Kennedy Duda and that guy Matthew Jinks, who played baseball for Westfield and went to a number 1 ranked Madison and beat them at Madison, to do it again in football. Because the Westfield has an attitude. Okay, it's like the mindset. They're 3-time state champions, maybe more than that. They've been there before. This tradition. They're going to go to Westfield. They're going to go to Madison, punch them in the mouth. I'm going to say Westfield 20, Madison 7. You heard it. You heard it right here.
There you go.
You said 27, sir, right?
Yes. Westfield.
So I really, I mean, just so you know, Jay, the Westfield has won 5 state championships. And the school's only been open, I think, 5 in 22 years or 23 years. But recent history has shown me that this time of year you cannot count out Madison. You know, I believe Westfield can win. This is another one of those. Well, yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised. And I started to pick them, but I didn't want to jinx them. But I have the exact same score as their first matchup. I have Madison winning 28-24. And again, it's because that team this time of year for the last couple of years, just they in close games, they find a way to win.
But Westfield has more.
Yes.
So I will say this. Our football could be dangerous if you run it against Madison with some good around the end edge athletic players for Madison. So Westfield power football, but you know, Madison's one of those teams that I think that they're just too good. I'm going to pick them, and I picked 28-24. I just had to recheck that to make sure I didn't copy Rusty's score, but I like Madison 28-24, and that home field advantage is big. So the next game is Battlefield of Freedom. We've talked about Freedom, how loaded Freedom is. Battlefield. You know what I was going to say, guys? I think this could be like barely a seat in the house because, you know, Battlefield is going to travel extremely well. Jay, what's your take on this game?
East versus West, Prince William County. The Grizzlies versus PME. Overton versus Hatfield. I mean, there's so many competition-wise, so many things we look at. But Battlefield, I mean, they're good. I mean, you have again, you have Boggs, the Bukowski brothers, Woodson. The quarterback is good. Ken O'Shea. Then at Freedom, it's just too much power. I mean, too much strength. I mean, too many good players on Freedom. I mean, you have, if you stop Jeff Overton, if you tackle Jeff Overton, you got to deal with Camp Courtney. If you stop Camp Courtney, you got to deal with E.J. Reed. If you stop E.J., you got to deal with Aaron Duncan or Juju Preston, just got a Clemson offer. It's just too much talent, and I like Battlefield. I mean, great players, great team, but it's also revenge from 2 years ago. And there are 5 players on Freedom's team that were crying 2 years ago. They lost to Battlefield that want revenge. So I'm going to say, hate to say this, I'm going to say Freedom 40, Battlefield 19.
Yeah. Rusty Byrd?
Yeah. I think Freedom will get its toughest test of the season. And that being said, like it was tight with DeMatha and it was tight with Varina. But I think.
Hold on, Rusty. On DeMatha, they scored on every single drive.
Yeah. No, they didn't. They punted. Remember, that's how DeMatha scored. DeMatha scored because they blocked 2 Freedom punts remember Friday night. I was sitting right by you. Anyway, you're right. Whenever they didn't punt, they scored. Right. Okay. That's a lot of teams can say that. But I think this will be Freedom's most challenging game for a lot of the reasons you said, Jay. It's a county matchup, and you say PME versus the Grizzlies, and I know that's very true because Coach Overton started PME. But I go back to APYFL versus the Grizzlies, which is what I coached. And when we played the Grizzlies in the championship, we won. In fact, I had to be all out about it because we were playing in the Fairfax County Youth Football League. And I was like, yeah, I don't know why they call it the Fairfax League when 2 Prince William teams in the finals. I have Freedom winning this game, but it's one of those, like a lot of ones, like, yeah, this one I would not be surprised. Other ones I would be. So I got Battlefield losing, but putting up 28 points, and Freedom having one of their lowest scoring games at 35-28 Freedom.
All right. Jason Sterling.
So Battlefield is averaging over 43 points a game, and they're allowing just under 7. It's not a bad formula, and it helps you get to the 12-0 record. So look, you guys have seen multiple Battlefield games this year. Everything you're talking about, good athleticism, they got sound fundamentals, they've got wideouts that can stretch the field. But I got a question for you guys. See if you can answer this for me. Is there a requirement from the Battlefield school that in order to play wide receiver, your first and last name have to start with the letter B?
I know.
Brandon Binkowski, Braden Boggs, Bryce Banning. I mean, it's just weird. I don't know, man. I love it though. I love it.
That in the school's Battlefield starts.
I know.
The Killer Bees.
The Killer Bees, man. That's what we got to call them. Hey, look, but before we jumped on here, I did something. I Googled the word juggernaut, and it redirected me to Freedom's team photo. Can anyone stay with Freedom for a half or even 3/4 and make them stress a little bit in the final 12 minutes? That's the question that I think we need to ask. I'm not sure. The good news for Battlefield, though, they've already beat a Freedom this year, 40-0. Unfortunately for Battlefield, it was the Freedom from South Riding. We all know that not all Freedoms are created equal. So hats off to Battlefield. Superb run this year, guys. I think it ends. Give me Freedom beating Battlefield 49-14.
Oh!
Well, Jay, let me just say, Freedom only has 11 games that count. I don't know if that goes for the statistics as well, but Battlefield has only given up 81 points over 12 games, and it's listing Freedom as having given up 83 over 11. That Battlefield defense is no joke, bro.
Yeah,
and they stopped. Well, they didn't totally, but they stopped them enough that they beat them twice. Jackson McCarter, and he's a great running back, just like Overton. So if maybe Overton gets a couple of runs, but if they can say if they say we're going to pick our points, if they say we're going to stop the run, I know they got 4 great receivers, but let's just see. For Battlefield's well coached, we'll see.
All right,
but see, Rusty, you have to have all 4 people have to have bad games. There's so many players out there. Whoever's hot for Freedom is getting the ball.
Yeah,
Aaron Duncan, Juju Preston.
I picked Freedom to win, but I'm telling you, there's a formula for it to happen for them to lose.
Bill Brown told me, he said in 40 years coaching, he's never seen this much talent on offense. Here's a man who's coached Ahmad Brooks, B.J. Hawkins. I can go on and on. So there's a man telling me that this is the most talented offense he's ever seen gone against.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. He didn't see Hampton in 1996, but I'm gonna close out with this because I know this is close to y'all's heart. I like Freedom, 38-10. I'm standing by Freedom winning the Class 6 title. I think the world of Daryl Overton. I've not uttered this before. Let's not start a conversation because we've been talking about this game more than any others. There's only one person I've heard that agrees with me. I believe DeMatha would have beaten Freedom if that game would have gone on. There was something about them. They could not handle that DeMatha quarterback. They had the Stallions. They had the guys. They had the size, and they weren't intimidated. I was impressed by DeMatha. I'm just going to utter that, and I'm going to be there. So I knew that. We'll talk about it. But let's move on. Another big game, by the way. Another favored team is Manchester, who just blew out Thomas Dale for the most part, going to Highland Springs. Jason, give us a preview on that one.
So I've had the privilege, and I mean that in the most sincere way, it is a privilege of seeing Highland Springs up close 6 times since 2015. Either in state semis or state finals, guys. And what sticks out for Highland Springs every time with me is that Coach Johnson does not have to alter what he does. I've seen him run the ball on 3rd and 6 from the 50-yard line, pick up 4 yards and punt away. What he's doing is testing both his team and the opponent to see if he can get those 4 yards, knowing that he's going to need to run that play in the 4th quarter at some point to put a game away. He's the ultimate chess player on a high school football field. Now, since 2016, though, Manchester has an 83-14 record under Tom Hall. That's an 86% winning clip. So if Lauren Johnson is the spokesperson for the Coaches Association down in Richmond, Tom Hall's definitely got a seat at the table, guys. Manchester's really good. They're one of the few teams that's got the ability, the coaching, the talent to upend the Springers here. Their quarterback, sophomore, again, Landon Abernathy, he's very, very polished for such a young age. I love what he does. But he's going to need his best game of the year right now against a pretty nasty Springer defense. I've got another close one, just like they had in the regular season. I think Highland Springs pulls it out again because of that experience. Give me Highland Springs 34, Manchester 27.
Okay. Got it. Now, Mr. Byrd, I want to hear, I know your pick, but I want to hear all about it.
Yeah, this Manchester team, beat Freedom in the state championship.
Okay. Won it all Manchester won it all in 18. Yeah, they won 15.
Yeah, in 2018.
They won it all
right.
in 18.
Yep. That's what I thought. Okay. So Manchester has won a state championship and Highland Springs has won a state championship. I have Manchester winning this game. The first time they played, it was very close.
Very close.
But it's something about Highland Springs this year. They lost to Maury, but it's just something about them that it isn't what we all expected. Great program, and everybody has been hoping to see Highland Springs and Freedom in the final. I don't know if they get there. I think we may see. My point to all of this is I think we may see Manchester and Freedom rematch. That was my point. 5 years later.
The voice of freedom, Jay Gholson.
Ooh. Manchester did a good job against Thomas Dale. That surprised me, being the number 1 seed. But we all want to see Highland Springs and Freedom. All the conspiracy theories, the referees. I'm joking, Rusty. So I'm going to say, in a clean game, no cheating, Highland Springs will beat Manchester. I'm going to say 26-7.
Okay. All right. I will say this. I wanted to switch to the end of the Maryland-Michigan game. All right. And I told a buddy of mine that I was watching it with, I said, 2 or 3 years, probably 3, you're going to see Christian Martin on that field with Maryland. I think Christian Martin, we haven't talked about him a lot, very impressive. We all, Rusty, Jason, we saw him play 2 years ago, his sophomore year, and I was just like, man, look at him. I think he's been quiet this year, but I've heard he's progressed very well. I like Highland Springs in this one, 23-7. And then, so we're going to close out with our previews.
We're gonna wrap this up. This is part 1. We'll release this first, and then we're going to be releasing part 2 very soon. Yeah. So for Jay Gholson, Jason Sterling, and Kirk Hilliard, this has been the Kirk and Byrd Show. We are out.